Hi everyone, welcome back. Jean here. Alright, today I thought we'd do a project with these little wood squares that I got from Michael's. I showed them in one of my hauls. You get 16 of them for $4.99. They're 5x5 squares. So I thought we would do a project. There's lots of things you can do with these, and I will be doing some other projects. I got the circles too. I think they were 4 inches, and then I got these squares. Today I'm going to show you how you can make like a little mini album cover, okay? You know, or notebook cover, anything. Okay, so we're gonna use these. I'm using this paper pad, and then I'm using my little cinch machine, and I got one of my little wires here ready. Okay, so we'll talk about all that as we go along. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is I want to put on, I have this for the outside. I'm gonna use this rainbow, and then this for the inside. So I already got the one of the covers done already. Let me grab this, and we need glue. You can use tape, glue, whatever. I like glue. It gives me a little time to kind of like reposition and stuff like that. Lord knows I can make the mistakes. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of line it up here. Looks good. This is just my Cricut scraper that I use for vinyl and stuff. Okay, now we want to trim our corners, make them match the wood. All you just need to do is just kind of trim around. Hope everyone is doing well and we're enjoying some of this warmer weather. Finally. Okay, I don't need 80, 90 degrees, you know, even if we just stay in the 70s, I'm happy with that. Okay, now let's make sure my rainbows are the right side up so that when we put the other one on, make sure that's the right way. You guys know me. You know I like to put things on upside down. These are so fun to make, and they're so quick too. Okay, looks good. Okay, let's put my cap back on, my glue. Or it'll be all dried out when we're ready to use it. Okay, let's go ahead and trim again. Mine's still wet. Let yours dry. You know, we don't have time for drying business here, you know. Okay. Get that off of there. All right. So now I have my front and my back cover the right way, everything. Now we're going to poke some holes in it. So I'm using, of course, my big cinch. So I'm using that. You can use, if you have a crocodile, you can use that. Works really, really well. In fact, I have a scrap piece here. Yeah, here's one that I was testing on. And it just punches right through. But you probably didn't see that. Punches right on through. You probably could use, I don't have just a hand punch like that you would punch, you know, paper with. But it probably would work because this really isn't that thick. And it slices through pretty well. Worst comes to worst, you drill holes if you don't have any kind of cinch or the crocodile or anything that'll work. You know, you can always just drill holes in here. But this slices through really easy. Now, I took scrap paper, take the scrap paper, the size of your project, and use that as your template. And just to double check, though, we can make sure I didn't move it. I already did the inside pieces, so I want to make sure that I do have that centered. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. So wouldn't be the first time. I already did all the inside papers already because you don't need to watch all that, do you? All right. When you are doing your back cover, make sure you flip it over. Otherwise, your holes might be just a little bit off. So if you do it this way, the same way as I have my front cover, your whole, this is your outside. So it's even like if you flip it this way, it's not gonna. So make sure you take and flip yours and put your insides, so that they would be together. But we're only gonna do one at a time. Now I'm using 3 through 9. That's what with my scrap paper I figured out. And then I know along here I need to go on number 6. Now you're gonna have to, play with yours and see how you want yours set up. And this is just what worked for me. And then I make sure it's all the way up there. Make sure you push it. Make sure it's all the way in. And I double check down because I do see I might have some. Nope, it's good. Sometimes you might have some bits of paper and stuff stuck way back there. Make sure it's free, because when you push this back, you want to make sure that it goes tight against this so that your holes will line up. And just go, and voila, you have your holes punched in there. And double check, perfect. And now remember, you want to make sure this is my side. Make sure you have it the right way. Won't be the first time, Jean. And it feels like it's sticking against something, and it is. So sometimes when you're dealing with this little wood pieces that come out of here, they might not go down into the recycle thing. So just make sure that when you push the back, if you know your cinch really well, you can tell when it hits the back. So let me see now on my number there. And yay, woohoo! It's always scary when I do that. Okay, so front inside cover, you can see that matches. Now I did all my papers. What I'm using this one for, this is going to be more like a notebook. I used a watercolor. I don't have the pack. Do I have the pack down here? I thought I seen it. Nope, it's upstairs where I was using it. So I hauled one of those watercolor pads from Hobby Lobby for a couple bucks. So I cut some papers up, and because I'm going to be using this for when I'm doing projects, I can test my inks on there, see what colors I want, test paints and stuff like that, test, the design, how I want to paint and stuff like that. And then save that. And what I do is, usually I do this on scrap paper, but I thought I might as well get fancy, right? And so that I can save this when I am testing like a ink color that I want, like say I want to use this, I'll do it on a, do I have a scrap piece? It don't matter if I don't, we can use this. I do have one though. So when I'm doing a project sometime where I'm inking or painting or using markers or even color pencils, sometimes I'm going to, want to test my colors. So I may just take my, and put it on like that, or take, just my pad and put it on, or put my paint down with my paintbrush, or put my color pencil on. Well, when I do that, I also make sure I write down on the scrap piece of paper the color and what pad. So this is, the Distress ink. So I put Distress ink, shabby shutters on there. So that way, if I decide to do that project again, I know what colors I use, because I can't remember what colors I use sometimes, but sometimes I do come back and do a project that I liked the colors, or if I'm doing colored pencils, where I'm the rare case when I do stamps and I color them, so I do that. I've even used this when I do like your embossing powders and stuff like that, because I use colored embossing powder sometimes, so I'll do that on test it to see how it melts, so I'm making a fancy little book now instead. So we will be putting all these in between and making a book. Just make it as thick as you want. I don't remember how many sheets I did, but you can see it is quite thick. We'll measure. All I have is my T ruler, but that's about, okay, my T ruler. This is a centimeter. There's the inches. So it is about a 1/2 inch thick. And you go by this is a 7/8 inch. So you don't want to go, of course, this is 1/2 inch. You don't want to use a 1/2 inch, you know, you want to use something a little bit bigger. So go by what size you want. And then, so this has 7 holes. So this has 7 holes, so you're going to cut this off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do it this way so you can see this part. Let's put this back a minute. Okay, cutter. I just had it in front of me. Not that one. That one don't cut very well. I guess we'll use this one. I just had it sitting right in front of me. I probably knocked it on the floor, did I? Well, we'll use this one. It doesn't cut as good as the other one, but we'll use this one. Okay, so I'm using 7 holes, right? So I need 7 of the, whatever they call those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're going to cut it off right in between the 7 and the 8. And then just cut it, and hopefully, they cut. All right, so I got 7. So now, if you've ever used a cinch before, you have these little grooves here. And you're just going to hook this on to there. It just hooks on. And we're going to put our paper on. So how you do that is first you put your paper on. And I'm going to make sure I got my holes going the right way. And that's going to line up. Okay. So you're going to put your paper on first. Seems like you're missing a thing. Nope. You want to put your paper on first. Okay. So put your filling. Let's call it the filling of our sandwich. You're going to put the filling on first. Okay. Next, you're going to put your cover on, okay? I know it seems weird. You want to put your cover on next. Next, you are going to put the backing on. But you want to put the backing with the same pattern together. Because when you flip this way, you know, it's going to flip over. What it's going to do, it's going to hide this seam. That's why you want to do it this way, okay? So it seems weird. So let me get it in there again. So if you've never put one together, so you got your filling first, paper. You have your cover next, your front cover, okay? Then you have your back piece, and you're going to put it upside down, or you're going to match your patterns, okay? So for me, I did the same patterns for you guys on the front and the back, so it'd be kind of easier to show you. Put your patterns together, all right? Simple as that. Now you take this little off, and you go to your back side. Now, I have it set at 7/8. So, right, I'll lift it up for you, but 7/8 right there. This just turns and it moves, but you can see it's set at the 7/8 because my ring is a 7/8. Then it just sits against there. That's all it does. You sit this part against there. That's all it does, okay? Is sit there like this. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at my camera. So you just take it like this, the opening, okay, and just set it against the backing. And I want to make sure I have it in there. And, okay. And all you're going to do is put your handle down and squeeze down. And it should match perfectly. And you can see, Jean got it right. Okay, move that there. You see how it matches? Now, the reason you do this one is because now when you turn the back, your seam you just did is on the inside now. So it's not on the outside. You got the pretties on the outside. Now, my ring looks like it's pretty big, but if you're, if you're putting a lot of bulk in there, it's going to be, good for you. But I only had 7/8, and I had my spirals were like 1/4 inch, I think, 1/4 inch spirals. They were too small to use. But you can use your binder rings too, use binder rings. You don't have to use the wire, So you have that. Let's decorate it up a little bit. So since I'm using this for, swatching out things, I thought You Color My World was pretty good. So we're going to put that on the front. We are going to put this as a back piece behind there. And I'm going to grab a different pair of scissors for cutting this out because I got glue on that one. And that one's got glue on, I can see. They all have glue on. Let's just face it, right? Okay, so I'm just going to cut this out. Just decorate your front up a little bit. You don't have to do this if you're just using it like I'm going to be using it. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of eyeball, you know. You don't have to be fancy here, people. Let's not be fancy. And how I like to eyeball is, so then I'm going to go up like that. And because not everybody can do a straight line, I can't. So now I'm just going to go right alongside there so it looks like I did a straight line. Because who needs to pull the cutter out? Okay, now I'll just center it. And voila, looks like Jean knew what she was doing. Okay, Jean also wants to, do I have my rounder here? Sure I do. Jean's got lots of rounders. Okay, I'm going to round my corners too. And the reason I'm doing that, and you don't have to, is because this is all rounded. So if you put this against it, I really don't like the looks of it since everything else is rounded. So let's go ahead and round it. Get this one again, then cut that off. Any rounder. I got lots of different rounders. Okay, now we'll glue that there. We have this yellow, lovely yellow. So we'll glue that down there. You can make, you know, a bunch of these just like notebooks. Decorate them up, sell them at a craft fair. So you can just be a notebook if you want, or you can do something like I'm doing. You know, I try to make a use out of everything, you know, so I thought if I'm going to make this, I might as well make it something I can use. And instead of using this way, I can save it better. I end up losing my scrap paper and throwing it away. So this way I figured I got quite a bit in here. You can do with the water, if you use the watercolor paper or mixed media paper, whichever one, you know, you'll be able to do both sides because it doesn't usually bleed through. You can kind of see it didn't bleed through the ink or anything. But I can get quite a bit on there. And if you want to even have categories, like, you know, if you started using ink on this one, continue using ink on it. If you have markers started on one, continue markers. However, don't forget to write down like the brand of marker you use, not just the color. Write down the brand and stuff too. Okay, let's glue this to the front now. And I'm just going to put it right in the center. I mean, you don't even have to go this far. You don't even have to, if you're just going to be using it for, like I'm going to be using it for, don't even worry about decorating it, you know. But you know, I'm going to juice it up a little bit for you guys. So, yell at me if that's not straight. Like you could, don't you wish like you could just, you know, talk through the camera at me? Okay, now let's put a little word. It has these words in here. Da, 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 da. Is there anything that it looks interesting? Da, 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 da. How about just bring your own sunshine? That sounds good to me in life, you know. So I'm just going to cut that one out. And it's because I didn't want to go with like a gray or a yellow either. Oh my goodness. The struggle is real sometimes. The struggle is real. As you guys know. Come on, scissors. What are you stuck on? Get in there. Okay, let's see if this isn't going to be too big. And I want to go like more this way. I think over this way though, because it's kind of more empty over this way. And do we want to go more on? I think I want to go more on. So it's kind of more on there. See, I thought Color My World would be perfect because, you know, we're going to be doing coloring and stuff with this one. So I thought that was kind of perfect for this one. Now, and I'm going to keep this right here, you know, so that like I can remember to, every once in a while when I work on a project, I can kind of show you and we can kind of see how it's built up and how I've been using it. So we can keep it like that. But there you got it. You know, you either use it as a cute little, you can use it as a journal. You can use it, you can do drawings in it. You can just use it as a regular notebook. You can use it anything. But what else I made is, then I thought, well, why don't I make, you can make this one smaller. This one I started making as a junk journal. But what I'm going to use it for, I'll show you what I'm going to use it for. So some of you have probably seen me use this. This is my sample album book. So in here it has all different type pages that I have made in the past. So, you know, it's hard to remember sometimes when you're making things. So I make a sample book. So it's got all these different pages in it on different designs, you know, that I've done in my album. So this is my sample book that I keep, and I add, you can see all the extra pages that I've added, you know, when I come up with different designs, or I see different designs that other people have made that I really like, stuff like that. You know, here's like my little, kind of like a gatefold. So I thought, I don't have one for my junk journals, and it doesn't have to be big. So I'm using it. So I already kind of started a few things. Like I usually always like to put ribbon in my, let me just grab a piece of paper. I always like to put ribbon in my front and my back. So I kind of put a little ribbon. These are all decorated pieces of paper. So I put in some of the different papers that I have. And here I put vellum pocket. And I didn't do too much yet. And here I did a corner pocket. And then so just different sheets that I put in here that, you know, you can use. Here I did a round for a pocket. So this was a design that I had on one of the papers, and I cut it out of the paper. So to make like a little cute little corner tuck, you know. So when I think of things, I'm going to turn this into my junk journal sample book so that I can remember. It's hard for me to remember. There's another little corner pocket. But it's hard for me to remember all the different designs that I've done. And that's why I really, really like this one. But I think I need to make something bigger because I keep putting things in it, you know, and I got so many pages in here. I don't use all this many pages when I make an album. You guys know that. But I have all my designs right here so I can remember. So that's what I'm using this one for, is I'll make a mini version of that because it'll be a little easier because it's a junk journal. And when I work on a junk journal, I'll try to remember to have this here too to show you. And I'll try to remember to keep this here when I'm doing, you know, coloring projects or cards or whatever I'm doing, so you guys can kind of see how I've been using it and how it's building up and stuff like that. So, you know. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. That's what we got just by using these little squares. And like I said, I'll have more projects with these and the round ones. But I thought we'd start with this. That was a simple, easy project. Look how cute this would be at a craft fair. And it didn't cost that much. I said 16 for $4.99. Whatever scrap paper you have on hand, use that. And you can make a cute little notebook. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little project. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.